Movies Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Bro Dinky. With me, you probably guessed it, is my good friend, Mr. Schmidt, in the place for horological hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. Schmitty, what's going on there, bud?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. How's everything with you?
Uh, all right. The kitties are having a little thing where they like to do this thing now where they get up at like 5 a.m. and
Ah, yes.
and they either try to get in my bed,
Mm.
which isn't good for the sleeping, or they just want to get up and they're like, "Can we go downstairs and watch TV?" And they're only 2 and 4, so it's not like
Yeah.
I could just be like, "Yes, go downstairs and watch TV." Like they have to be
Yeah.
supervised. So
Please go downstairs where we can't see or hear anything that you're doing unsupervised for several hours.
exactly. So either way, I've been losing a lot of sleep for no damn good reason.
I know. It sucks.
It does. It does. Aside from that, just been watching some football and stuff. Nothing too crazy. It's been a week already for me. No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a rugged couple days of work, but aside from that, everything is pretty good. How about you?
Good, man. Nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. I do have a little bit of a new watch alert. I did just
Oh,
get a new watch.
nice.
It's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy. A buddy of mine owed me from something earlier, and he's like, "Hey, man, like, why don't you just pick out a watch for the amount that I owe you, and just we'll call it a day, and that way you get your money." And I was like, "All right, that's a fair deal." So I just picked up a new little Casio. It's nothing crazy, but it's the one of the breast cancer ones. It was
Oh,
a
nice. Yeah, I
good
got to check those
deal.
out.
It's a good deal. I got the all black one with the pink indices, so it's not
Very
too
nice.
pink. But yeah, a little $100 little watcheroo, and call it a day. So I'm happy.
Yeah, dude. I walked into my morning meeting at work today, and I walk in. The first two people there are wearing pink, and they're like, "Did you get the memo?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Oh, it was some day where you're supposed to work." And I was like, "Great." I was like, "Something that I had this covered
You
like
literally
10
have
ways."
pinked
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah, I
everything, and
had
you're
this
like,
so covered. I was like, and I did not get
oh,
this memo. I was like, "You guys got to do a better job getting that around."
you got pink straps, pink
Yeah, I
hats, you
had
got
it. I had
everything, everything.
it. I was like, "You guys really screwed the pooch on this one," but
It's like, let's just go back to Saturday and somebody send me a text. Don't forget, Monday morning, we need pink stuff.
that's right.
Oh,
Kind of funny, but
I
also I
know.
was like, "Come on, guys." But
Oh, you gotta love it. Gotta love it.
yeah, aside from that, I mean, we did get a slew of new watches. I do believe it's LVMH Watch Week,
Yes, it is. Which
so
I didn't even know was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing either. Maybe it's part of the
The pr-
new rollout with all their
Who
new
knows?
familial Nepo baby changes going on there.
Because I don't remember there being an LVMH Watch Week before. But then again, maybe this is now because didn't SIHH and Watches and Wonders merge?
Oh, maybe you might be right about that.
Because maybe I'm just making up in my head,
Nah,
but
it's
maybe
it's all part of the COVID time warp. It's uh,
yeah.
it's like everybody. It's like the blip from Avengers. Everybody just lost a few years off their life. You don't remember anything. I do recall something like that.
Okay, so yeah, so basically Watches and Wonders and this is how far back it was. I mean, geez, 2019. 2019 was the last time there was I'm sorry, SIHH. And since then, basically beginning in 2020 during COVID, it became Watches and Wonders Geneva. So that show, which would have happened earlier in the year, which is basically right around this time, gets pushed back to April, which is where Watches and Wonders is this year. It's in the beginning of April. So I guess all the brands that would have debuted stuff at SIHH are now doing it in their own thing. And I guess that's what we get LVMH Watch Week. Who knows? I don't care, but a lot of watches. Some bangers, some just kind of like, yeah, what do you think?
I agree, but I have to say I found some stuff that I actually like quite a bit. Like there,
Yeah.
I for me to really get a little bit gaga over a watch, like I really have to like it. And I really found a couple of those in this batch here, the drop
Yeah.
today. So I was pretty enthused about that. I guess we'll kick it from the top. Let's
We'll
start with
stop, man. There's everything.
well, no, let's start with a watch that is not featured at LVMH Watch Week. We'll start with the Belova Lunar Pilot with a
Okay.
meteorite dial. It's sort of your same old faithful Belova Lunar Pilot. I mean, it's got a couple of upgrades, but aside from that, it's got a very fancy schmancy meteorite dial.
With a
And
fancy price tag.
I was gonna say it's also not so cheap.
Yeah.
These will run you about 1,500 smackaroos,
Yep.
and they are limited to I think 5,000 pieces, and they're already in limited quantities. They're already sold out on the
Yeah,
website,
5,000 pieces. Yeah.
so they're working hard to restock those. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't like that price tag very much, but I like everything else about it.
Well, I don't like the price tag because you're dealing with it's a granted it's a very fancy quartz movement, right? But you're dealing with a quartz movement of $1,500. I mean, there's a lot of mechanical watches you can get in that price category. Even some mechanical chronographs for $1,500. And really a lot of that price tag is going to be associated with one, the actual iconicism of this type of watch, but also the meteorite for sure. But is it a beautiful watch? Yes.
Sure
Yes,
is.
it is. That meteorite is very good looking. The color scheme is very well executed. I think if you're looking for something fun, it's eye catching and interesting. And I think meteorite, for whatever reason, is going to be big this year. I can already picture it. Um, this is going to be huge. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things where the watch is a little bit bigger than the sum of its parts type of deal.
Yeah.
Like you do get a meteorite dial, you do get a traditional. I'm going to use quotes space watch here.
Yeah.
Something with some history, a very classic look. This color scheme looks amazing on it. I mean, it's already sort of been this one, but with this sort of the all the different angles you're going to get off the meteorite, it looks really really good. You can get a meteorite dial in a micro brand for probably cheaper than this,
Yeah.
but again, you're getting sort of a total package here. I don't
And
know if
let's
I don't know if I could shell out 1,500 for it, but it's darn good looking.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to call it out too. Not all meteorite is the same.
Yeah, that's true.
The compositions are different, the gradation is different, the collectability of the type of meteorite, the rarity of the meteorite, all of these things play a factor into what the cost of sourcing that material comes from. And I think a lot of people when they're like, "Oh yeah, I can get a Zelos, meteorite dial diver for, $600, before they go to full sale, if I buy it, on Kickstarter or whatever it is, okay? That's true. But let's not say that every single piece of that meteorite that's used in that watch is going to be inherently the same or of the same quality or gradation as something that you're going to find in an Omega or a GMT Master 2 meteorite or a Daytona. Like they're all going to be different. Um, and certainly they're going to be associated with different rarities and different purities of the meteorite. So keep that in mind. Not everything's going to be the same, but it still looks really, really good.
Yeah, and then that was one of the highlights coming into today that I had ready and geared up, and I was like, all right, we'll talk about this. And then I wasn't expecting all this other stuff, but
Yeah.
we certainly got a lot of it. Obviously, the LVMH brands are going to be the ones that are pumping stuff out, and let's start with Tag Heuer, man. Tag
Mm,
Heuer drops a glass box configuration of the Dado.
yes.
For
Data 45.
those of you who
Oof.
might remember, Hodinkee put out one of these somewhat recently.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, I think,
Yeah,
right?
it's not a glass box, but it had the date at 9, it had a totalizer at 3, and then it's got sort of your standard chronograph setup aside from that. And that one had a dark dial and everything. This one's got like a bright emerald dial on it.
It's so good.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, this is a good lot. Look good
Yeah,
watch.
like
Good
I
looking
said, I
watch.
was smitten. I saw this and I was like, oh, that's a damn good looking watch.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to love it, especially because, whenever I look at this, I always think that the watch is winking at you because it's just got the 30-minute totalizer, which is cool. The price point is there. It's not a limited edition. It's not a specialty model. It's just going to be normal production,
Yep.
which is good. Now again, at 6550, is it expensive for a tag? Maybe. Is it expensive for a Hoyer? Maybe not. I don't know. You guys know how I feel about this if you listen to earlier episodes where I believe that they should split and make all of these watches under the Hoyer label. They have every ability to do that. Um, but overall, this green, it is a very, very sexy watch because it's like that bluish green. You know what I mean? Like I mean, it's Wizard of Oz green. Like that's what it is. Like it's like Emerald City green.
Yeah,
I think you
it's not that teal kick that everybody's been on for the past year or two. This
no
is
man.
very, very emerald.
It's I mean maybe we should call this the Oz because I mean it's a great color.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Chaos Emerald.
You know, I mean there's got to be a nickname in this same somewhere other than the Dado, right? Because I mean let's be honest, the original Dado was a Dado 45 black dial, you know, classic Hoyer chronograph. This is a new generation, a new era. But I love this color. And all the photos that I've seen of it in the glass box case, they look phenomenal. So this is a home run for me. Again, the price point might be a little steep for some people at 65.50 US, but I could justify it. It's different. How many one sub dial registered chronos with a date at 9 o'clock are out there in the market today with this type of dial? None.
And it's pretty sweet package. You know, you get that
Yeah.
39 mil case. It's only 13.86 thick. Now for a chronograph, that's really not bad.
Yeah.
And it's got 100-meter water resistance for all you snobs out there worried about getting your hands wet. 80-hour power reserve, very nice. Like you said, not limited. And who knows? You know, if the boutiques they start struggling a little bit, maybe you can even get one of those old-fashioned discounts one day. Might be nice.
Might be nice. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but
Nah, but
we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see.
we'll
Give it
see.
6 months and we'll see where the rest of the industry is at, and we'll see if everyone starts getting little diskies again.
Well, that's kind of how I feel about it, man. Because I mean, I'll be honest, people who I have been talking to in my own circles and stuff, I don't know anybody really picking up anything big right now. You know, little things here and there. It's kind of just
Yeah,
like, you know, wetting your beak a little bit. I don't know anybody who's like, I'm going full send like in the past 6, 12 months at least.
no, I mean I'm with you on that. I think it's people are just economically being much more aware of their finances. Things are changing a lot in the industry right now, and things are changing in the economy right now. Um, you guys can probably kind of gather where I'm at on that, but you know, people are going to be a little bit more conservative with their finances, and they're not going to make any big moves unless it's really, really justified, I believe. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. But I agree with you. I mean, nobody in my collector circles are like, yeah, I'm rushing out to buy a gold anything or, you know, a two tone or, you know, a ten to $15,000 purchase. You know, it's a lot of people I think are being a little bit more reserved with that.
You know, so well, that's what I'm saying. So even if it's only your heavy hitter brands that are remaining hot, maybe your tag horrors will be offering a little something off the top there.
Maybe. It's very possible. Nothing is in the realm of impossibility. I mean, let's be honest. I feel like we're on that cusp of like the 90s going to the 2000s, that in many ways that golden era of collecting for so many established collectors. And I really wish I was in the watches and had the finances to be in the watches back then, because back when the market just dropped out on all of this stuff, you had people selling crazy complications from high houses for basically nothing because everyone was just trying to liquidate everything. And over the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen that steadily build and build and build and build. And here we are at fever pitch, and everything I think is going to be returning to zero if you imagine what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so if this is your Hoyer end, we've also got what I guess you'd call a tag release as well. They released the Aqua Racer Solar Graphs in 34 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting, and we'll use the word interesting release here because, I mean, there's definitely a feminine couple here, but
Yeah,
there's a blue dial, there's a green dial. It looks like you got a couple of mother of pearls. One of them's got diamonds, and it's certainly a small watch. It's a quartz
yeah.
watch. We know that. but I feel like a dude could probably pull off the blue or the green.
Yeah,
I just don't know who this is marketed to.
Danny
Like,
Milton.
well, I was gonna say it could be a slender wristed fella or perhaps a lady.
I
But
mean, I would imagine this is going to be definitely more geared towards women. I mean, look, I'll be the first one to be like, hey, man, give me a pink dial 36 Carrera and call it a day. Like, I'll happily wear that. But 34 is pushing it for a watch of modern sensibilities,
no, it certainly
and,
is.
and especially a diver's at that. Because the one thing is not just the case size that comes into play, it's the visual weight of the watch, which so many people often discredit. Because now you have a bezel, so your actual crystal aperture, your dial circumference is that much smaller because now it has to be inside of the bezel. It makes the watch wear even
Yeah,
smaller
it's
than it's
probably like
supposed to
28
suggest.
millimeters.
It's yeah. So it just it's gonna look tiny on a man for sure. There's no question that it wouldn't. But if that's your bag, man, go get your bag. But you know, for the same amount of money, you can get the 40 millimeter.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, let's be honest here. For that, I would go with the 40 millimeter. And look, what's the price of the Solograph right now?
I can't remember. I remember it was what was it, three?
Okay, so I'm looking right now on Tag's website. There's a brand new kind of Bordeaux pink aqua racer, 40 millimeters in stainless steel with an automatic movement for 28.50. So I don't know why you would go and buy the Solargraph if for just about the same amount of money you can get the mechanical one. Yeah, because the Solargraph right now, at least in the gent size in 40, is 23.50. So $500 more, and you get the automatic version.
Yeah.
I think I would be willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess that tells you who your demographic is here, that perhaps it is not watch folks.
Yeah, they just don't care. They're like, tags on the dial. I know this is a good watch.
And did you see they're putting out a an eyewear
I
line
did.
as well?
Well, not putting it out, it's just coming back because Tag has always been into the avant-garde lifestyle, like so many other brands out there as well. I mean, Omega is guilty of this too. There's so many brands that do this, where they make other things. And Tag used to do eyewear and like moto jackets and all kinds of crazy stuff for years and years and years and years. And I think, over the years, they're like, hey, it's just not really a big driver for us. So let's pull back on it and we'll just focus on the timepieces, you know? But no, it's cool. I mean, they're doing eyewear, but like all of these designer things is like, man, dude, this is gonna be crazy expensive.
They look like a futuristic version of the Oakleys that people used to wear in the late 90s.
Yeah. I mean, and they're gonna be expensive. I don't even know the price points yet because I saw them featured. I'm like, I am so
I have no
not even
desire to know. Not
exactly. I have no desire to find out, but I can imagine they're gonna be ridiculous and very, very expensive. But again, this is their market base. They're marketing it to active lifestyle, sport, enthusiasts, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you're in the tag, maybe you're in the tag eyewear. It's not me, but you know, it's for somebody, I guess.
yeah. So chugging along here with our LVMH brands, Zenith has been very busy.
Yes, too
So
busy.
yeah, so they put out the familiar Chronomaster Sport in a couple flavors. They gave us a green one that I don't love.
Yeah,
It's not my favorite shade of green. I saw they modeled it with Aaron Rodgers, which is again
yeah.
kind of a still kind of a weird brand relationship for me. I still don't know. Weird.
Look, man, they're just trying to capture the American market. That's all.
I guess, but like
This is Europeans trying to figure out how to appeal to the sensibilities of the American market.
I know it just doesn't. The guy's he's almost done. He might be done.
He could be. I don't think he is, but he could be.
I don't think he wants to be, but after a torn Achilles, you never know.
I mean,
Three plays into the season was
boom, done.
something
I
like
mean,
that.
you played football, didn't you?
I did, and that just
You remember, dude. It's just like you have to remember. It's like you just get beaten for months. I mean, I still have injuries that I'm like, yeah, there's my hip, pop it back in place. There's my knee. It's buckling up. Must be a thunderstorm down the road. Things like that. It's like that stuff's real. And you just learn to figure it out and recover. And if you can't recover, you stop playing. And
yeah,
maybe that's where he's at.
yeah, having all of that and being chased around by 300-pound men just does not seem like a great day at the office, especially when you've
Especially,
had a successful career already.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's all the 300-pound men that want to kill you. Like
Correct.
they want to break you. Right.
Correct. And you never know if any of them are friends with Jimmy Kimmel, you might be in for it.
That's right. That's right. That's a funny conversation.
Sure is. So anyway, I don't love it. It's kind of that like weird
It's
cloudy
Packers
green.
green.
That
It's Packers
cloudy
green.
that it's like it looks like the one that Rolex uses on some of the Hulks. Like
Yeah.
it's not one that I like particularly.
It's the color. The color is Kelly green. It's Irish green. It's like Notre Dame Packers. It's that bright spring green. You know what I mean? Like if Irish Spring made a watch, this is the green. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if I want that on a chronograph,
No,
and I don't know if I love it with the subdials either. But
I think in this variation, like the green is already an attractive color in and of itself, but I think what really dilutes it is the fact that they did the Chronomaster off colored subdials. Like I would be okay with the watch if it was all the same color, or if they're like, hey, we're just gonna do a monochromatic design. We'll do all gray or all silver or something like that. But the fact that they did blue and dark gray and light gray, it's like, okay. That itself does not blend cohesively, in my opinion, with the rest of the chronograph design and the green.
yeah, and now they've also released this in a blingy version.
Yes.
And is this a gold meteorite dial?
So it's meteorites, which going back to kind of what I said earlier, I think meteorite's going to be big this year. But it is I think it's got to be a treatment. Because keep in mind, meteorite is mostly made of metal, right?
Yeah,
Specifically iron. So there's obviously, like I said, there's obviously different gradations and different compositions of meteorite, things like that. But if it's metal based, you could probably PVD it or do some type of electrolysis or galvanic treatment to give it a color. CVD, PVD, whatever you want to do. There's probably countless ways to do this. I just don't think brands have ever really done it, or maybe the technology wasn't out there to do it. But this looks like to me that they basically took a meteorite dial and they PVD coated it gold color.
and I think this could have had potential. I mean, this thing is way blingy. It's got gems set all around the bezel and everything.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
with the polished center links and everything. It's a little gaudy. I think this could have been cool without the gems.
I mean, I agree with you, but I also like I'm not a person that's in the market for a gem set watch, but I also could see like if I was gonna be in the market for a gem set watch, this one would kind of be a cool one to get, just because of the sum of its parts. You got I'm assuming they're blue sapphires, maybe black diamonds, and then regular diamonds, or smoked out diamonds on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would
no,
like
let's
to
be
see it.
honest though.
I would like to see it with just a matte navy blue bezel or something on it. Just see what it looks like. I think it could have a lot
Yeah,
of potential.
yeah.
But
I
maybe
mean,
we'll look at
again, I'm not a guy that's gonna run out and buy this watch, and especially at $98,000.
it.
Definitely not. I'm sorry, 98.6. All right, definitely not. But if you're looking for something unique, you're looking for a big hitter piece. I don't really know of anything else that looks like this. And I saw this comment earlier. It's like, thank God they didn't do a full day, like a rainbow, because then they already get enough flack for copying the Daytona. That would have really been over the top, I think. But this is cool, especially with the meteorite. Though I think that's cool enough.
And now, what I think is just a total home run. They've brought back a triple calendar that was originally only one of 25 from a vintage release way back when. And now they're bringing it back. So you're getting an El Primero triple calendar. So you're getting a moon phase. And this thing looks super cool. Everything about it. And I think I
Yeah,
saw a couple different dial variations on it, like a
yeah.
panda, reverse panda, and even
So
I think
there's
there's a
a
color too. I can't remember which one it was.
so there's a dark gray.
Green? Is there a green?
There's a dark gray. There's a green, which I believe is a boutique only. Okay. Then you have the panda, which is the white dial, black sub dials, and then you have um I'm sorry, those are the three. Those are the three.
Yeah.
And then you have the options to do, strap or bracelet or whatever. My favorite personally, I think, is the original prototype color, which is apparently the dark
The
gray.
gray, yeah.
That one is just a absolute banger. I mean, and again, price point aside, we were kind of talking off air about this, and I'm looking at the website now, so maybe it's different model to model, but this is 13.9. But still, man, this is the smoked gray with looks like red gold accents. You're talking triple calendar chronograph with an El Primero movement, tenth of a second, powers are 60 hours, and you're doing this in what, a 38 millimeter case? This is just an absolute banger. Absolute banger.
This is a rare watch. I saw the price and I was like, wow, that's not bad for what this is.
No.
Like a regular El Primero is going to run you 10 G's.
Yeah. Easy. What's a little bit more amongst
And with this,
friends to get something that's truly special
yeah, with
and has never really existed?
that's right. And
I
you
mean,
can you can get this neat setup. You get a moon phase. It looks so good. This is such a banger of a watch.
yeah. And again, it's never existed. That to me is the thing that blows me away because, like you said, the original inception of this was only a small production prototype. Essentially, they were just basically testing to see if it was even possible to do this. Because keep in mind, the biggest testing for this is, can we run a high beat chronograph and still have enough torque and power reserve to make all of the additional functions possible? That's really what they're testing. Okay. And I don't think a lot of people who are not familiar with watch mechanics really understand this concept that you still have to have enough power in the gear train as power reserve starts dwindling to make all of these functions happen, because even the slightest dip could cause a misalignment of the wheels or the teeth, and it can cause an issue. So the fact that they're like, hey, this is like what, 1960s, 1970s, they're like, we're going to do this. We're going to make 25 pieces of this or 20 pieces of this, and we're just going to see if it's a proof of concept. Can this be done? And they're like, we did it. And then it never went to market, which is
Classic.
insane. They're like, quartz crisis. Let's not focus on triple calendars right now. Let's just stick this in our back pocket for when the industry recovers. You know, 60, 70 years later, here we are,
Yeah, we've arrived.
bringing it back, baby. But no, I think it's an absolute banger of a watch. The only thing I could potentially see as an issue with this is just going to be overall the thickness of the case, because it looks like in all the photos they're taking it from top down. Because you have to imagine there's got to be a lot more stuff in this particular watch, so it looks like it sits off the wrist quite a bit. But you know, if you don't like that, then just buy a regular Chronomaster. Very simple. But this is an absolute delight of a watch. Now, as I mentioned to you off air, and I'm gonna put this statement out there. If Zenith can create a watch like this, And Zenith has an incredible history manufacturing chronographs, especially with complications and things, and doing them in high frequency. When UG finally makes it to the market, if they are not able to produce a watch that has all of their UG-ness built into it, and it's at this kind of competitive price point, they're done. They're done. They'll be dead on arrival. Because if you come out with something similar to this and you're selling it at $30,000 or
Yep.
$25,000, nobody's going to want to buy it. You can't rest the laurels on the past. You have to be able to create something that people are going to be interested in wanting to purchase. And if you can't deliver something like this, why would anybody deviate from something like this Zenith?
Yeah. No, it makes total sense to me. And I
I
think
mean,
that's
it's
sort of that was our big concern coming out of that news was
yeah.
that what the hell are
What is
these
the
watches
price
going to
point?
cost? Yeah.
And you and I remember when we had that episode, you were like super stoked, like, oh man, it's just gonna be kind of like Breitling. I was like, I've written all the articles. It's supposed to be more expensive than Breitling. And so I was like, Breitling's already at like ten thousand
I
dollars
was going to say
for
that's
an
good because I can't
Avitimer.
afford a
So
Breitling, so forget that.
it's like, so what is this UG gonna be? It's gonna be the top tier brand. What is that gonna mean? You know what I mean? So like, we'll see. It sounds quite expensive. And if they can't deliver it in something that's attractive as this, complicated as this, at this type of competitive price point, I think they're going to be a DOA. But we'll see. We'll see how much the industry gives them free publicity and all the influencers prop them up and everyone artificially manufactures the desirability of that. We'll see how long it takes for that to happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for
It will
sure.
be.
Yeah. Now, the only other stuff I really saw that sort of would capture the eye of the watch folks coming out of this was I know Bulgari put out some stuff, some new octos. Never really been a huge octo person myself. Not gonna lie, I know everybody fawned over that watch.
I don't like it at all.
Even seeing it in person, the bracelet is it's not thick height wise, but it's thick. It's like a 26 millimeter bracelet or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it
visually
tapers.
thick.
Yeah, it tapers like hell, but yeah, it's just a weird setup. Like
Yeah.
getting to your wrist. I get it. It's avant garde. It's all that other stuff, and it's from a big jewelry house. But I've never been a huge octo person, and I know, we talked about in our group chat today that they brought back the Bulgari.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, it's the one. It's got Bulgari around the bezel twice. It's a gold watch, and I said, "Ah, yes, the watch so nice they named it twice."
Yeah, basically. But I mean, this is kind of par for the course because even their aluminum models these days still have Bulgari,
Yeah,
which, to me is, uh, it's just so gaudy to me. It's so gaudy. And maybe this is going to be, you know, a hot take, but their designs, I've never liked them. I've never liked them. I don't like the hinged bracelet. I don't like the fact that like there's branding on literally every facet of the watch. On the bezel twice, on the strap on either side, it says Bulgari. Like we get it. Your name is Bulgari. Like we get it. And I know it's all inspired by coins and all these things. Cool, whatever. I think it's gaudy and I think it's garish.
it's certainly never
And
been my
maybe that's a hot
bag.
take. I think
I think you're
no.
gonna have people on both
And again,
sides.
maybe I'm just maybe I'm just a knuckle dragger. Like somebody called me once in the comments many years ago. I'm just a knuckle dragger out here. But at the end of the day, I just think that there's refinement and simplicity. Um, and I think that most of their designs lack that. Now, this new one that just came out today, arguably you could make that point. Hey, it's a very simplistic design. It's a classic one to their collection. It came out in the 70s. Cool. And I do like that it doesn't say Bulgari on the dial because it says it on the bezel twice. But overall, I mean, if you remove the bezel aside, it's a very fine looking watch. It's very simplistic, but there's something beautiful in that simplicity. But at $13,000, this is a pass for me. I'm just not gonna buy it
No.
because I don't like the fact that it says it twice. And it even is called the Bulgari watch, which is even more garish because their name for this piece is actually Bulgari twice. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Nothing. No shade out to anybody that owns Bulgari jewelry, but I think it's hideous and garish. So
So that was about it for the drops I saw. As far as the event goes.
okay, all right.
Far as the event goes. Aside from that, we got a really cool Longines that dropped. It is a central power reserve version of the Conquest. This is a really interesting looking watch. First of all, it's got a date at 12. Now, normally I hate the date at 12. This one looks pretty good.
Yes.
And it's just a
Yeah.
very nicely thrown together watch. It's got nice indices. It's got this central power reserve situation going on. That's unique. It's neat. It's very classy. It looks like if the Orient Bambino had a very sexy older sister to me.
I've never heard it quite described that way, but yeah, I love it.
You go over your
I
friend's
love it.
house, you're like, who's that?
Yeah, that's my sister, bro. Like, oh,
Like, no, I was
but
just
really, who
asking,
is that? Just asking, you know?
trying to be
Does she
polite.
need her car washed?
Trying to be polite.
Does she need her car washed? I mean, is she hungry? Does she
Am I
want
still
something
staying over tonight?
from yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maybe not the Bambino thing. That didn't cross my mind, but overall aesthetically, this watch for me when I saw it, and it was quite, a subtle drop because I think it happened over the weekend or
Yeah.
just before the weekend, something like that. Um, it was certainly not expected, and we got the teaser for the 70th anniversary of this. I think this watch is really really well executed, which is crazy because this design to me feels like a modern design, but the fact that it came out so many decades ago is insane. And as I told you off air, like, why don't all Power Reserve watches look this awesome? Because this is truly cool. As I jokingly said to you, is like, right now we're just left with like these like gas gauge looking Power Reserves on these watches,
Yeah.
or these ginormous hands that sweep across the dial. I'm looking at you, Seiko. And this is just probably one of the most elegantly introduced Power Reserve complications I've ever seen. It's so simple. It makes so much sense. The dial is insanely symmetrical, given all of the detail. And it just plays well. And I think at 38 millimeters, it's a solid, solid watch to get if you're looking for a sport piece.
Yeah. And if you
Or
haven't
I'm sorry,
seen
a
it,
dress piece.
if you haven't seen it, it's just got this cool central disc around the center pinion that just rotates to count down the power reserve. It's just
It's
very neat.
so it's so uh, it's so simplistic that it's like, how did we not come to this sooner? You know what I mean?
And you can get black, you can get white, or you can get sort of a grayish with rose accents.
Yeah. That one's probably my favorite.
It's
The
neat.
gray.
It's very neat. I like the
It's
white a
just
lot.
it's really, really, really beautiful. Really beautiful watch. And this is one of those watches that, like, if you were to buy it and have it for the rest of your life, and eventually if you die and you pass this on to your kids, it's gonna be like one of those, like, oh yeah, dad had this crazy watch. This is one of those watches that's like a future story. Like, we don't really know what it does, but it's got these crazy things on it. Like, that's, to me, is like, this is a watch that, like, you would like find in grandpa's drawer. I was like, yeah, I had an old nice watch once. Like, this is that watch. And I don't know, the story and how it functioned to me is just so attractive. It's so simplistic in its design. It's just like, how did we not make all power reserves like this, and why do we still not make power reserves like this? I just think it's so cool, and it's so uniquely Longines. The script and the font is so cool. The handset is awesome. I love the beveling on the indices and the framing of the date window. Like you said, you're like, I'm not a big 12 o'clock date person because it feels weird to
But
me,
it looks good.
but it looks so good because it's perfectly symmetrical with the 6 o'clock marker. I mean, it's good. I can't say enough good things about this. I think if you're looking for a dress watch this year and you don't want to kill yourself by breaking the bank, I mean, at 38 millimeters and at a pretty decent price point of 3,800, I think this is a banger.
Yeah. Can't really go wrong with this one, I don't think.
No, no.
Uh, Also new, we got a collab from my fellow Long Islander, Mark, over at Island Watch and Marathon, have come out with a Navigator collaboration. White dial, black case, black bezel. Uh, Pretty cool little release. It's the
Yeah.
41 millimeter Navigator. It doesn't have a ton of Islander branding on it, just I believe on the case back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they kind of just came together and hashed it out, decided on some design choices, and put this thing out. I mean, it's cool. It's definitely cool. I like Marathon, and Mark's always been a swell guy when I've met him in person. So shout out to him. Congrats on this. And
Mark from Long Island Watch.
it's a quartz piece, but
It's cool though. It's
it's
cool.
cool. Yeah, it's just a sort of a no nonsense.
Yeah, and this one to me is a little stealthier, right? Like you still have the acrylic case, you still have the acrylic crystal. You got the kind of GI military single pass NATO style strap, but you got this little pop of orange. You get this bright white dial. I just think it's very cool.
And you got blue tritium tubes.
Yeah, it's just very cool because it's stealthy enough to be like, I've seen that before. But then upon further glance, you're like, wait, that's not quite the one that I've seen. It's like when J. Crew did those navigators as well.
Oh yeah,
That was totally unexpected, but like I secretly wanted one because they were just so much different than all the other stuff that was made for the watch people. And those never got really that much fanfare just because they were sold through J. Crew. But I always low key love them because I'm like, if I was gonna get a marathon watch, I want the marathon that nobody has, and this could be one of those versions as well. It's very good looking.
yeah, for sure. And it's even got the little spot on the back where you can replace the battery with just a
The
penny.
battery cell, yep, there you go.
Save you a trip to the jeweler for all the.
A la Swatch, baby.
Speaking of,
Ooh.
probably the news of the week. We got a little teaser. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, but it
Mm-hmm.
appears, and I'm not going to speak in absolutes here, but it appears we are getting a Snoopy Moonswatch tribute of some kind.
Ooh.
And, obviously this set things on fire because the scarcity and availability of the current Snoopy model of Speedmaster, as well as anyone that's come out in recent memory, are basically non-existent.
This is
And
true.
so I
This is
think a
true.
lot of people would like to own something if they could with the overall package thrown together there.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you can always get something like that from a Timex or something, but it's just not the same. And
Definitely not.
we've definitely seen a lot of really cool executions from Omega with the Snoopy. So I think people are sort of the ears have been perked up.
Yeah.
Now I have no idea, and obviously we've seen a ton of renders that people have thrown together or cobbled together in MS Paint. I won't even say Paint Shop or Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Uh, but I don't know. I don't think you're going to get a one for one of a Speedmaster. You might get a moon swatch with a Snoopy on it, but I don't think they'll step on the toes of the ones that they've put out already. It might be something cool and new and original, but I don't think we're gonna get like
I hope that it is.
I don't think we're gonna get the blue Snoopy revamp in Moonswatch.
I really hope not because, I think everyone could agree arguably last year was a little bit of a letdown. Just because it was kind of, in our opinion, pretty lazy. Just taking what you've already had and, kind of slightly changing a second hand or a dial or whatever. Very, very, very minute changes to still drive the hype. Now, granted, there's always going to be hype and people are going to be excited to queue up and do it just because it's the thing. And honestly, let's be honest now. Most of the people that are queuing up for that stuff are probably not watch people per se. Because I don't really know of anybody that was like, oh yes, the Hunter Moon is coming. Like, let's go get in line. You know what I mean? Like the Strawberry Moon.
I don't
Like,
know. Beaver
okay,
Moon, I was thinking about it.
yeah. There you go. But I don't think a lot of people that were diehard watch people, at least not that I know, were really focusing on that. It was more so, hype people and people that are interested in culture and that kind of stuff. Whatever. I think this has everyone's attention, whether we want to admit it or not. And I know you had said off air that you kind of did like a little poll or whatever. If this phenomenon is still going on, do you want to talk more about that?
Well, yeah, I like to use my resources, and seeing as I have a bit of reach, yeah, I like to sometimes I'll use memes as a means of farming, as a means of gathering information, and so I put out a little feeler with the dude from Toy Story 2, and I kind of wanted to get people's feelings towards where the Moon Swatch is for them or what it stands for. You know what? A lot of people, I think, are just happy it's bringing people to the hobby.
Yeah,
And then you have other people who just write it's garbage.
yeah.
But it's most of them fall sort of in between. And so let me see, one, two. I got like 6 or 7 here, but they're all pretty diverse and all pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll read a few of them. So this first one comes from a guy named who calls himself Teddy Pretzels, who has a
That's a name.
very cute corgi as his picture.
Ooh, corgis are the best.
He writes, they're overpriced for their materials, but they're also unique and quirky enough to have genuine appeal. I think that the biggest legitimate complaint isn't about the watches themselves, but about the faux scarcity Swatch has used to sell them. Supposedly, they sold over 1 million Moon Swatches in the first year, but making them available only in person at such select few locations is a recipe for secondary market gouging. It sounds an awful lot like another brand that comes to mind.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And you guys are okay with that one?
People don't seem to mind that one.
Yeah, they don't seem to mind that one at all.
Just
Yeah.
got busted for telling people not to sell the watches online. This one comes from our friend Nick at DC Vintage. He said, personally, not even remotely for me, but these are certainly bringing new people to the two watches, so it is a win-win. And I think that's where most people, I would say, stand on it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
This one comes from Millennial Falcon 17.
Millennial
17.
Falcon.
That's funny. That's a funny name.
That's a good one.
If they do a silver Snoopy Moon Swatch, I'd happily fight an old lady for it. Might lose, but we'll still fight her.
Okay.
To which I replied, I don't know about a Snoopy, but Japan Racing, I might be there with you.
Yeah, okay. If it was a Japan race,
Well, I'm saying, I mean, if we're doing Snoopy, might as well, right? We might as well just put all the cards on the table here.
yeah, you're right. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
This one from frequent listener, Clocks on the Rocks, local guy here in New York, New Jersey area. Simply put, hype machine aside, they're swatches, and Swatch is notorious for limited releases, quirky releases, and overall awesome releases. Am I moon swatched out? Yes. Do I own 3? Yes. Am I 50 fathoms out? Sorry, that's a weird word. 50 fathomed out. Yes. Do I own any? No. Will I? Yes. So
I think that probably sums
a real
up
mixed bag. Yeah.
I mean, look, this is the thing. It's like the hype was there for sure. I mean, we're not talking about like the hype about like, oh, this is the best watch ever. But the hype was there, like, hey, this is cool. This is a cultural phenomenon. And you and I have talked about this before. There's never been, at least in our lifetime, a single watch drop from any brand that has generated as much impressions, likes, clicks, pandemonium, scarcity, all of these things wrapped up into one as the Moon Swatch did.
No, I've never been so blindsided as far as that type of deal goes.
I mean, dude, when that stuff hit in 2022, man, it was insane.
It was to the point where you had to ask if it was a real thing.
I mean, it was nuts. But let's be honest, it's a swatch. That's all it's ever been. Okay. You look at a normal Swatch, you can buy one for $75, you buy one for $100. That's what it is. It's a quartz powered watch. It's designed to run until it doesn't run. And let's be honest, swatches actually do run forever. There's dudes who collect vintage swatches that are still ticking from the 80s. So, I mean, I think that you've gotten enough out of your swatch at that point, several decades on, right? But at the end of the day, it's a fun, quirky thing. It's cool to get younger people into the hobby. It's cool to get people talking about NASA and space and Speedmasters and all of these things. It was a marketing dream. Are heavy-handed watch people probably tired with it now? Yeah, but they're still going to line up to get a Snoopy one when it comes out. You cannot tell me that they won't.
No, no. I mean, that's what I think. It's like you got my attention. What are you doing with that thing?
Yeah, and I love how conveniently they didn't put any details.
Zero.
I just and I loved it. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. He's like, "What do you think it means?" I was like, "Well, I definitely think we're getting a Snoopy moon swatch." And I love that he was kind of like sitting on the lid, and it was almost like, "Hey," because if you looked really closely, and I try to like slow down the video and everything, if you looked really closely, it looks like each one of those are the previous like moon versions, right? The strawberry moon, beaver moon, hunter moon, whatever the moons, right? Because if you look, they're mostly all the same color, and there's like one in there that's blue, which would have been like the one that they ripped off of the
Yep.
Neptune or the Neptune version. Um, and he's almost like closing the lid, and I interpreted that as like we're Swatch is closing the lid on this chapter of these moon swatches, and Snoopy is now going to sit on top and howl at the moon. I think that that is the coolest thing, and I hope this is my sincere hope. I hope that if they are going to do a Snoopy edition, that it should be from the ground up, and that's my sincere hope. If they riff off another one that they've had in production for already what 2 years now, or almost 2 years now, I think that's gonna be a major turnoff or letdown for some people, which might be good for me because my kid loves Snoopy. So if I have to go buy a Snoopy Moonswatch because my daughter wants one, then I will. But at the end of the day, um, I think this is going to be collectible. I think people are going to really want this thing. But I feel that it's now necessary, given last year, it's now necessary to make sure that this model is a true one off. I don't want it to look like any of the other planets or moon or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
What would you like it to be look like? What would you like it to look like?
Oh, I just want something original. Something playful. I think if it's going to be a Swatch, I think it should be playful. I mean, they've done that. They've done, him laying down in the subdials and stuff. And I
Mm-hmm,
think, but
mm-hmm.
I'd want something like that. I want something fun, something playful. I mean, even if it's him sitting on top of the house in his little dog house in a
Yeah,
space suit, I'd be all right with that. Like, just something cool, something fun. Nice coloration, nothing too gaudy. Like, just a nice package.
yeah, yeah,
And like you said, I don't want it to look like any of the other ones.
yeah. I don't want it to be too close to any of the Snoopy editions. I don't want it to. I
I
want
don't
it
want
to
it to
be.
look like any of the other Moonswatches either. I would like something
Yeah,
just. It could be
that's
in
what
the
I'm saying.
Speedmaster format, but just not what I've seen already.
Well, I mean, I definitely think it's going to have to be a moon swatch, right? I mean, because
Yeah,
he's closing the lid on all the moon swatches,
it would
right?
be
So
pretty
I,
dumb if he came out on a Blanc Bond.
or it just like came out like in a normal
It's just a plain
swatch
old swatch with him
with
howling,
Snoopy
and
on
you're
it. It's
like,
like,
oh,
oh, dang it.
all right,
Um, but I think like if I mean you can search Snoopy in like a space costume or whatever, and there's so many cool like renditions of him in his space wardrobe or space garb or whatever that to me pick one of those cool ones and make it based on those colors or that kind of thing. And I think it would be a true standalone from all of the Snoopy editions. And let's be honest, if it's too close to any of the Snoopy Speedmasters, the collectors will lose their minds because they're gonna be like, oh, they're clout chasing and all this stuff. Like, God, like not everyone can get a Snoopy, bro. Like we get it. You're rich. Like you bought it on Chrono for twice the retail. We get it. You don't care about money. Not everyone can do that. So for Snoopy to be like riding in the doghouse or on the subdial walking on the moon or hopping on the moon, I think that that would be really cool. And it would be different. It wouldn't be quite, the same as some of the other versions, and it would be fun.
All right, I got three more. This one comes from Cove Watches. This is essentially the guilty pleasure of the watch community. In public, people will rarely admit they like it. In private, they have two of each.
Yep, that's facts.
This reminds me of an old joke about a moped. It's all good until your friends catch you doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't need any protests to the show, so I'll leave the rest out. But if you need to know what it's about, you can DM. This is from C. David R. I bought the mission to Mars, have sold it, and bought a Speedmaster. Their marketing worked on me.
Yep.
And lastly, Eric Malaki. Scarcity driving artificial demand. There's a reason they don't sell online.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
they did say they were going to sell
They did
online.
say, and that was the thing. And I think
That
it's
was a
what pissed
big
off a
bummer.
lot of people. If they had just been like, "Hey, we're only going to sell this in boutiques," um, that would have made sense. People would have been okay with that. But the fact that you told them we were going to sell it online and then didn't, that pissed off a lot of people. And honestly, man, that's just one of those moves that like I don't even know if the Swatch Group fully anticipated how much this was going to change the industry, you um but it did. And I don't even know if they fully understood like, hey, this is going to happen and this is going to be insane if we try to sell it in 2 points of sale online and in retail stores. We won't have enough stock. And I do truly believe at the very beginning, I don't think that there was artificial scarcity. I just think that they're like, we cannot pump these things out fast enough.
No, I think they just completely misgauged
I agree. I
what the
agree.
turnout was going to be.
Now, eventually, they're like, oh, dang. Well, let's just restrict the flow a little bit. You know what I mean? Once they figured out that they ironed out all the kinks and everything like that, and everything went okay. I'm sure they were probably okay. Well, let's just keep holding it back a little bit. We'll deliver, we sell. We'll deliver, we sell. We'll deliver, we sell. I mean, even still to this day, I don't think that there's a Swatch boutique out there that is sitting on Moonswatch.
Some people tried to claim that in the comments, but I don't find that to be a valid assessment. I've seen where there have been one or two sitting around, but not like, oh, we have the entire line. Come on in.
No, I mean, I've seen it once where there was 5 or 6 out of the 11 or whatever it was, 9, whatever. I don't remember the exact number, but well, I guess it would have been 9 planets, sun and moon. So that would have been what, 11?
Yeah.
Um, well, I guess 8.5 planets because Pluto's not a planet anymore, but whatever. He is in my book. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I've only seen that many, 5 or 6. That was the maximum that I've ever seen it displayed at one time. I've never seen the full collection, and I think that that was strategic by Swatch Group because they're like, hey, this store is getting these, they're getting 3 of this, they're going to get 5 of these, they're going to get 2 of these, and that's it. This store is going to get 7 of these, 3 of those, 1 of this one, and they just kind of sent it. And I've had very frank, open, and honest conversations with some of the people at the Swatch boutiques around the U.S. And they're like, "Look, man, like legitimately," and they've all told me the same thing. Legitimately, we have no idea what comes. We see a shipment and it's listed as Moonswatch, and that's it. When we open the box for the first time is the first time that we finally have a definitive inventory of what's coming. And they're like, they've done that intentionally. They've done it intentionally to keep us in the dark because they don't want us to know, and that way we can't start lining up people and all this stuff. And it. But I'm excited to see what will come of it because I think it's going to be fun and I think it's going to be cool. And let's be honest, this is my major message to everything. Watch collecting is supposed to be fun.
It does get lost, doesn't it?
It's like, come on, man. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be so serious. It's supposed to be fun. And those
Honestly,
moments,
I'll be honest, I've honestly found that, even in the attempts of people like myself to make it a less serious hobby, I feel like people are just so wound so tight nowadays.
yeah,
Like you can't even post something that's obviously a complete joke and clearly fake, like just for ha-has, without somebody be like, well, this is fake. And you're like, yeah, no duh. There's nobody on Pornhub talking about Speedmasters and Daytonas, bro. All
are
right.
you serious? Somebody actually messaged you about this?
No, it's right on there. Look at the comment section.
Oh
Fake
my
though. Yeah,
God.
no shit, bro. Fake
It's
though.
it's called a meme.
Dumbass.
God.
Like,
Oh my God. Are you serious? What an absolute buffoon.
I want to be like, scroll down the entire feed. If you find anything real, I would be astonished.
God, people are so ridiculous.
But I just find people are just so tightly wound nowadays. It's not fun for a lot of people. And at times it makes it not fun for everybody else.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Insane.
Truly.
Insane.
Truly.
Insane.
And with
What are
that,
you gonna do?
yeah, we can call it a day for this one. I don't know when we'll see this Snoopy, but hopefully soon. And we can
Yeah.
include it in a future episode. Yeah, till then, we'll keep our ears to the ground and everybody else be good. Smithers, I'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Y'all be good.
Peace.